How's it going, guys? I'm Zim's Jeep. In today's video we're going to be working on this stone tabletop that you see here. I'm going to be looking to remove a lot of stains that are on the top of it from using it every day. Primarily stains from drink glasses and plates. When you put them down they have some moisture on them. It tends to leave a little bit of a ring in place. I'm going to show you a close-up of it in a second. And no matter what you do in terms of using household cleaners, these do not come off. It affects the top coat or the finish that is put on the stone in a lot of cases in the factory, and like I said, no matter how much scrubbing you do on it, it does not come off. I'm going to show you a trick that I learned a little while back to remove all these, and it also gives it a layer of protection on the top of it as well. Real easy process. If you have something similar going on your kitchen table or even on your kitchen countertops, you might want to try this and see if it helps. So let's get to it. Alright guys, I want to give you a close-up of exactly what I'm talking about in terms of these stains. I don't know how well these are going to show up on camera, but I think holding this right here you can get an idea of what I'm talking about. You see right in this area, over here, right there, and then I think I got a better representation of them over here as well. You can see right in these areas here, just from like a drinking glass or something like that that was left in place, leaves these rings all over the table. And like I said, no matter what you do in terms of scrubbing this thing with general household cleaners, they don't come off. Like I said, this big one over here I think was caused from a pizza box. So just in general, anything that has any bit of moisture on it that you leave sitting on the table for any given amount of time, it'll leave a stain behind. Alright guys, let's have a look now at the materials we're going to be using for this job. The product that I found works best for removing these stains is just plain old car wax. And as you can see here, I have a bottle of turtle wax. Get the cheapest stuff you can find. It doesn't really matter. They all work the same. We have a can of just general cleaner right here. We're going to clean the table before we get started. You don't need this particular brand, it just happens to be what I have. And then you're also going to want a mechanical means of applying the polish to the table. I have a quarter cable random orbit polisher here. You do not need this particular style of polisher. Any type will do. You can get a cheap one in Harbor Freight. You can't put this on by hand. You need a mechanical means to get this worked into the top of the table here. Okay, you can't do this by hand. It'll take you forever, and more than likely you're not going to get good results. So you definitely want to be using an electric polisher for this. What I did, I'm going to move, I got one chair left there, but move all furniture away from this because wax is a real pain to get off anything that you get it on in terms of fabric. So you don't want this getting slung on the chairs or any other objects that might be around your table. So clear everything out of the way and let's get started. Alright, first step we're going to do here is just clean the top of the table. Again, anything you have around your house in terms of general purpose cleaner will do. You just want to remove anything that is on the tabletop that would normally come off with cleaner, especially anything that's coarse or granular. You don't want to be scratching the top of the table with things that can get stuck in the buffer pad. We don't want to go backwards here, obviously we want to go forward to make this look good. So let's take the time, make sure everything's nice and clean before you start. Now one other thing I wanted to mention, you might want to try this in an inconspicuous area before tackling, let's say, an entire table like this. Sometimes you can check on the sides, it has the same material, maybe underneath. And try putting the car wax on and doing it there first. That way if you do any damage to the tabletop that you can't correct, at least it'll be in a hidden spot and you won't be seeing it. So like I said, I've done this a bunch of times in the past on this table and I've never had any problems with it. So, got my polisher plugged in here. Now if you've never used one of these before, well, first thing we're going to do is we're going to give a wax a shake. And if you've never used one of these before, what you want to do is just start out with just a light amount on the pad, like this, not a lot. And before you turn it on, you just want to work this into the surface of whatever you're working on. Just like that. And what that'll prevent is the wax from being slung off the pad here onto everything around the table. Because like I said, this getting wax off anything other than what you're working on in terms of a hard surface like this, if this gets on fabric, you know there's some working on your car. If you get wax on the rubber molding or trim, it's a real pain to get off. So this trick will ensure that it doesn't get slung all over the place. Okay, so I got a little bit on here now. I'm going to turn the polisher on, and I'm just going to work it back and forth just like I'm waxing a car. I'm going to go a long ways first across the table, then I'm going to bring the polisher back, work it this way across the table, and then I'm going to finish by bringing it long ways across the table again. So let me get started. As you can see, I'm just working in sections. I did this area right here. I'm going to move over here now. I'm going to put a little bit more wax on the pad of this. Okay. I'm going to switch over to this side. And we'll go to town. Don't put too much pressure down onto the table. You want the tool to be doing the work. If you press too hard, it's not going to spin right. I'm going to do this a little bit more, but I wanted to get this section hit first. I want to get the entire tabletop done. I'm going to do the same thing on this side now. Alright guys, so that's one pass across the entire table, both directions. I'm going to do another pass now, long ways again across the whole table. I'm going to slow it up a little bit this time though, and drag the polisher across the surface of the table a little bit slower. You might be able to see some stains ghosting through on your countertop or your table. You might want to hit those areas a little bit harder now with the polisher. And what I mean by that is just don't let it sit in one spot, but just move slower across that area there, see if you can work the stains out. Okay, you don't need that much more polish at this point. We've got plenty on the tabletop. I did put a little bit more on here just so this thing isn't dry. Again, just work it into the surface of the table before you turn the tool on. I know I had a lot of stains in this area right here, so I am going to work it a little bit harder. But again, just keep the tool moving. You do not want it to be sitting in one spot on the table. Now if you remember when I showed you, I had those rings in this area here from a glass, so I'm hitting this area a little bit harder as well. Alright guys, so I hit the entire tabletop now several times in all directions. I'm just going to let this dry and haze over now. And we'll remove the wax and we'll see what we have. You might have to do a couple applications of this depending on how bad the stains are that you have that you're trying to get out. Sometimes you get lucky, one pass takes them out. Alright, so let's let the wax dry and see what we got. Okay, so it's been about 10 or 15 minutes. This is hazed over pretty good now. I went in and installed just a clean terry cloth buffing pad onto my buffer now, and I'm going to remove the wax off the surface of the table. What I found is if you have any residual wax left on the table that does not come off, just wet it down with, you can use water or household cleaner that I have here, and just use a rag and it will easily remove anything that's left on top of the table. A little bit of elbow grease on this final step here. Get all this off of the surface. I could tell you right off the bat that I real happy with the results. It looks like a lot of those stains that I had on here came out, but Like I said, I'm not all that surprised because I have done this technique in the past several times and usually works pretty well. But like I said at the beginning of the video, do your homework, as they say, and try this out in an inconspicuous area so you don't do damage to your countertops, a table that is irreversible. Last thing you ever want to do is, try to fix something and make it worse in the process. So I wanted to bring you guys in for a close-up to show you what we have. You can see that area right here that we started off in. All those stains are all gone. Those water rings that we had down in this area here, gone. Can't see those anymore. Alright, so I noticed this when I was editing the video and I wanted to point it out before I get a bunch of comments about it. That ring right there isn't actually a ring from a drink glass. That's actually veining in the stone, as you can see here when I zoom in a little bit. And I had a bunch of other little spots on the table here and there that are also gone. So overall, pretty happy with the results here. Alright guys, I'm Zim Sheep. That pretty much wraps up this video. Real happy with the results. Table came out awesome. Looks brand new again. Let me know down in the comments if you try this out on your countertop or table and how you made out. If you haven't already, subscribe to my channel. Check out the rest of my content. Hit that like button. Check the links in the description below for products and items I used in this video. And as always, thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.